298. Self-Government Under God. Chalcedon Report, number 364, November 1995. Very often, intellectual discourse is hamstrung because the problem has an already given framework because of antiquity's concerns. This is true of the subject of government. The Greeks saw the state as the highest community and the highest good. The end of the state they held to be the good life. They saw government as either a monarchy, an oligarchy, or a democracy. Ever since, the academic world has been thinking in Hellenic terms. But a Christian approach to government must be different. Government is, first of all, the self-government of the Christian man. This is the basic government. Second, the family is the basic governmental institution under God and according to His word. Third, the church is a government, as is also, fourth, the school. Fifth, our vocations govern us. Sixth, our society with its rules and expectations also govern us. Seventh, one form of government among many, civil government, exercises rule over us, but it cannot rightly be called the government. If self-government be lacking, no good government can prevail in any sphere. Charles Glass, in Tribes with Flags, gives a vivid picture of areas without religious or civil unity and ruled only by strong men. He cites one such man controlling 200 militiamen, exacting protection money, and providing a semblance of good order. Yet this man pointed to someone on the dance floor he intended to kill because of his, quote, disrespectful dancing, end quote. When a culture has no sound basis in a religious faith that governs all, then personal whims prevail, and there is no valid law. Our culture is humanistic. It has denied God's law, and the churches have, in the main, agreed to setting God's law aside. In the 1790s, Timothy Dwight's preaching strongly stressed the necessity for God's law and the unity of law and grace. The churches, under the influences of Unitarianism and Arminianism, worked to discard God's law with the moral breakdown we now see. What premise is there for self-government, the most basic government, if self-will prevails? The state schools, in their, quote, values clarification, end quote, courses, emphasize the need to choose one's own values without reference to family or church, let alone God. This, in essence, means without reference to an objective moral standard or law. It is amazing that our crime rate is not greater. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in The Antichrist, "What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself in man." One of the first books written to praise Nietzsche came from an American seminary professor. If the church abandons Christ and His law, it will affirm power. If men deny grace, they will affirm self-will. My will be done. In church circles, there is often a recourse to threats rather than to law and grace. If men do not submit to God's law, they will not submit to man's law, and they are routinely contemptuous of it. If rulers lack the authority of God's law, their authority is a frail one. Since about 1960, the courts have been stripping the United States of biblical law, Christian character, and of public prayer. The disintegration of the country since then has been a rapid one. We are regularly told that crime has diminished, but we see its increase. The statisticians are good at conjuring good reports to please the bureaucrats. The basic government is self-government, and only the Christian who submits to God's law word will consistently manifest self-government and good character. The moral dereliction of church members is a common problem in our time. Their ignorance of God's law is amazing. And why not when some churches forbid the use of even the Ten Commandments? In 1965, a professor of art, Jesse Recheck, published a wordless book of meaningless drawings entitled Etc. Saul Bellow said of Recheck's drawings, "The universe rests very briefly in our perceptions, and we must not think we can fix it for any considerable time. In other words, there is neither meaning nor law in all creation. About the same time, a, quote, Christian, quote, writer in the arts insisted that every work of art is totally self-existent and must not be judged by any standard outside itself. In other words, God is dead, and no law can govern any sphere of life or thought. If you agree with the enemies of theonomy, you have implicitly affirmed the supposed death of God